Hi there, and welcome back to Kitchen TV, where we like to stir things up. My name is Chef Laura Steck, and you are here today for our second in our series of De-Stress Fest, an opportunity just to take a load off and relax amongst all the crazy things that are happening in the world. How can we make our kitchens more friendly and just a little more peaceful? So we started our series with a slow cooker class, and now we're going to be talking about teas. We're going to be using some superfoods, infusing them to make you relaxed and happy. And let's take the overhead shot, and I'll show you some of the products we're going to be using today. So we're going to be doing a witch's brew using matcha. And matcha, of course, is the green powder that you see here. It's a green tea. It's known for its antioxidant qualities, and it's like the super green tea. Next to it is another type of green tea, which is called Kukita. Kukita is well known in Japanese cooking, where we roast the sticks of the tea or the twigs of the tea, and those twigs become the basis for our hot beverage. We're also going to be using turmeric. Turmeric, of course, is one of the most effective nutritional supplements, they say. Good for what ails you, anti-inflammatory, anti-depression, good for things they even say heart disease, Alzheimer's, and cancer. And with turmeric, we actually have the research to back it up. And then we're also going to be using some chamomile. Now, I wanted to use the actual flowers that grow outside, but unfortunately, they're not blooming yet. So we just have the tea today. And we'll be making these into 3 different drinks. We're doing a hot chamomile turmeric latte, an iced witch's brew, and then again, our Kukita tea. So let's start with the latte. I'll take the overhead shot. So I have a pot here of soy milk. You can use any kind of milk you would like to use. I have a cup. We're going to make 1 drink. What I encourage you to do is use a full fat milk. So that could be a cow's milk, that could be a coconut milk, an oat milk, a soy milk, but don't get the lower fat. 1, because you're trying to relax and a little bit of fat will help you get there. And 2, because in order to gain the turmeric out of the effective qualities of the turmeric out of the rhizome, we want to use fat and pepper to bring that out. So when you're using turmeric, and I've got different kinds here. I've got some that's peeled. I have some that's not peeled. And for something like this, it doesn't matter. Turmeric, again, is one of the best researched foods, supplements, superfoods that we actually have science to back up. It's anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, and depression eliminating properties. If you're going to use it in a stir fry, I would peel it. But if you're just going to use it in a tea where we'll strain, I'm going to just grate it straight in using my microplane. Again, it doesn't have to be grated or it doesn't have to be peeled because you'll just peel those or just strain those peels out. About a teaspoon of grated turmeric, you can say it either way. What a smell. Oftentimes when something has smells or if it has a very strong taste, we know they say that that's the flavonoids, the antioxidants within, and beautiful smell. I'm just going to drop in a bag of chamomile tea, but of course, if you have, especially in the summertime, the flowers themselves, you can just pick them up and use that instead of a bag tea. I'm going to sprinkle in a little bit of cinnamon, about a pinch, and I'm going to either sprinkle in some ground ginger, or it's always better to use the real thing. So again, this is another rhizome. I could peel it if I wanted to, or I could just grate it with the peel on because I will strain that out of the tea. And then last, I'm going to add a little bit of black pepper. And let me get the pepper. And the reason why I'm adding pepper is because pepper actually brings out some of these qualities of turmeric that we want to get. They say that it increases it possibly by 2,000-fold. The active ingredient in turmeric is curcumin, and when you add fat, curcumin is fat soluble, so we want to have fat in the milk. And then the black pepper helps to draw that out. And I'll just put it back here on the stove, and we're going to let that come up to a simmer, and then we'll let it steep. All right, we'll stay on the stove. My cameraman in the background, why don't we stay on the stove as we move on to our next drink? So I have here on the stove just some honey, and we're going to make a honey syrup for our next drink. Now I got a couple things I want to show you because this is going to go into our witch's brew. And here I have some honey. That's sage honey. Look at the color of that compared to the color of this, which is actually poison oak honey. So very different. Now you can use any color that you want, but I'm choosing to use in my syrup a light sage honey. I used it all up though, so for this little part of the demo, I'm going to use the darker honey just to show you. But I want a lighter honey color if indeed I want that green of my matcha or my witch's brew to come through. And here we're going to make a simple syrup, and a simple syrup is very easy. We can make it with sugar. You can make it with anything. Here I'm just going to go equal parts honey and water. So I've got a 1/4 cup of water. I have a 1/4 cup of honey. Again, I'm using a darker color just to show you because I used up all my sage honey. But it doesn't take long to heat the honey and have it be viscous enough to melt into the water and then maintain that diluted state. So of course, if we didn't do this step, you would never be able to combine the honey with the water for a syrup. But with just a little bit of heat, we see it dissolve very nicely. So it doesn't take much time at all. I can shut that guy off and let that cool. And that's our first step. Now, with the wonders of cooking class, we'll come back to the broad shot, actually overhead shot if you can. And we'll see that we have our honey syrup here made with the sage honey, again, a lighter, that still maintains, and I made this earlier just so that it already cooled down, because if you make your honey syrup, you want it to cool down before we take this next step, but very well incorporated. And I'm going to add that to a blender. And this is to make what I call the matcha syrup. That will be for our cold drinks. So now we're doing our witch's brew. We're going to add our honey, our water, and I'm going to add some of the matcha powder. Now, again, there's many different kinds of matcha out there. It's usually expensive. It's going to be more expensive than green tea. And they have different grades of matcha. So this is, I think this cost me probably, this bag cost me probably, I don't know, 10 bucks. And I'm going to add a teaspoon of the matcha powder into that. And then we're going to add in some Thai basil. Now for a witch's brew, you can use any herbs you want. But what's nice about Thai basil is you'll see it's smaller leaf. It's more of a pointed leaf as compared to the Italian basil. I've got a cup here. And the flavor is more floral, and it's almost a little more acidic. So you can use regular basil, but you're not going to get, I think, as good of a taste as you'll get when you use, oh goodness, woo, we got our tea is coming up here. I'll show you just with the camera here. We have our tea, woo, don't get too close to the camera. So that came to a boil, and I'm going to shut our latte off in the back and let that steep. All right, so a little bit of noise. We're going to get some noise here. Hold tight. Now, if you let it go go a little bit longer, you're going to have a better distribution of the liquids to the solids. The recipe says about 2 minutes, but we'll just stop it a little bit sooner. We've got a nice, beautiful green color. And here what we want to do is just strain it out with some cheesecloth. And so again, this is our honey that we made into a syrup. We added a cup of basil to that. And we added some matcha. And let that strain. You could certainly do this with a fine strainer if you wanted to. In fact, this piece of cheesecloth may be a little thick for this. So it's going a little slow. Here, let me pick this up so you can see maybe from the other side too. And if for any reason you're like this and you get a little, certainly we can let that drain, but let me get a different kind of strainer. Let's see, here we go. I'm going to use this strainer instead just because I knew this cheesecloth might be too thick. So we'll just do it this way. The smell is very grassy. Let that guy strain out. All right, here I'm going to do something like that. All right, okay, let me move that aside. Woo! All right, so we have our nice matcha syrup, and let's give it a taste. Again, the honey, the water. It's so unique. It's sweet, but it's grassy, and it feels, it just feels, I feel better already. All right. Okay, so we'll put that off to the side. And now we're going to look at our Kukita tea. Our Kukita tea, again, is a Japanese tea. It's made from the twigs of the leaves, of the tea leaves, and they're roasted, and then they become it's like it's a coffee substitute, a very rich kind of a grainy flavor that is a terrific option in exchange for coffee. So if we're looking to kind of de-stress a little bit, we all know that we're not supposed to be drinking caffeine past noon, right? Caffeine has a tendency to stay in our body for 6 hours, depending on who you are. So you definitely want to stop the caffeine, hopefully before the afternoon. This is a great substitute. And basically, just like any free leaf tea, we will put the, you put a tablespoon per cup into a pot, and I'll take the overhead shot. We'll bring it up like we did our latte. And then we will steep it for about 10 minutes. And then we'll just strain that out. And you have a great coffee substitute. I think I'm going to put it here. That tastes, like roasted barley. It tastes like coffee without the kick. Let's put it that way. It's a beautiful, rich flavor. Perfect for afternoon when we do not want to be drinking any more coffee. And where do you get Kukita? You can get Kukita either online, or sometimes you can, if you go to an Asian store, you can look for Kukita. The thing about Kukita is a Japanese word. And if you go to an Asian store, often there are Chinese people there, and if you say Kukita, they won't know what it is. So basically, you want to go to the tea aisle and you want to look for things that the only thing that looks like that is twig tea, which is twigs in a bag, and then you'll know you'll have the right kind of tea. All right. So we've got our turmeric latte. Ooh, we'll take the overhead shot. You can see how it spilled over on my pot because I wasn't looking. And we have to do the same thing here, which is we're going to strain that. We're going to strain the tea. Actually, we can taste it first just to see before we put it in, see if there's anything we want to add. This is the turmeric, the ginger. Yeah, so not sweet. Lots of flavor. Beautiful. Just seems like it's got some power to it. Let's see how well it strains into the cup. You can, ooh, we'll have to clean that up. Okay, the ginger, the turmeric. Let me get a new cutting board. The cinnamon, if you have, if you've got some cardamom or cloves, that's good options too. Here, let me make this look pretty. Hold on, I'm going to pour it in here. I'm just going to rinse this cup out of touch because we want to entertain you, right? Look, cooking is about taste. Cooking is about smell, but cooking is also about sight. So even though this looks pretty cool, we're gonna change that guy out. And what do we have here? Here we go. And of course, the best way is to pour, when you do something like this, strain it into something else before you strain it into your coffee cup. And then a nice thing to do with these type of warm drinks, if you want a little foam and you don't have a foam maker, but you do have a French press like Sammy, I'll take the broad shot. Right, please. Let's see. You just can take a French press and take your hot tea, your hot latte, or add a little bit of additional milk to it. And then I'm just going to take this French press and just press it down a little bit. Give it an opportunity to get some froth and some foam in that. And again, this is soy milk, but you can use any kind of milk you want. If you heat the milk, you'll have a better chance at getting some foam. And the interesting thing about the foam is that it stays. It doesn't go down. Now, why is this having foam on it is a good question. And of course, all we're doing here is adding a little bit of air into our fat, which is why full fat is also a good thing in making these, because the fat will be poofed up by the air that you push into it. And of course, wouldn't that be nice with a little bit of grated nutmeg on top, or possibly some cinnamon. And then last but not least, we're going to put together our iced witch's brew. So I've got a shaker, always fun. If you don't have a shaker, you can use a jar, one of these, what are they? These kind of jars, and do the same thing, put the lid on and shake it. So if you do have a shaker, put a little ice in it. We'll take the overhead shot. I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of my matcha syrup. And again, that's honey, matcha, and some Thai basil. We're going to put in some lime. Give myself a cut. We've got, to the 2 tablespoons of matcha syrup, we're going to add a tablespoon of lime juice. Usually, depending on the season, you can get about a tablespoon of juice per half of lime. And then you get a little bit more than that in an average lemon. I'm going to do a couple tablespoons of coconut milk. And coconut milk, give a little fat to it, as well as the coconut juice. So I like to do both. A couple tablespoons in there. And then we're going to shake that baby up. Oops, not that way. We're going to shake that baby up. Okay. Woo! Hold on. I froze that ice to the center. Hold on, I got to free the ice up. Okay, there we go. I think the key to shaking a drink is to get shards of ice inside of the glass. You want small shards of ice. And then we're going to pour that guy, strain it. Ooh, nice color. And we'll pour that in. And then we're going to top it off. And this is the exciting part, hopefully. Watch out, because let's see how far it goes. Oh, goodness. All right. Who's the strong man who's going to help me open this jar? Oh, shoot, I can't. Oh, there we go. Oh, God. When you get to be my age, we've got some soda water here. I'm actually using club soda because it's got more of a kick. We'll take the overhead shot, please. And we'll just pour that guy in. And what we should get is nice little fuzzy, foamy, yummy, green drink. Ooh, all right, my dears, we have for you some delicious warm Kukita tea. Not that way. We have our nice golden latte, turmeric, and chamomile. And then we have witch's brew for your enjoyment. I think I have a little straw. Yes, I do. A little straw here. Let's give it a taste. Woo, unexpected. Certainly, if it's happy hour, you can add something to it. Any one of these drinks would go with a little bit of a shot of vodka, if that's your choice. Thanks for coming. We'll see you soon for our next class on foods that help us reduce stress. Thank you.